Welcome back, everyone, to the Aces NFL show. This is all about new faces in new places, and we're going to break down, I guess, all the new faces in new places because, you know, the off-season, it's hard to keep up with the NFL. I mean, free agency this year, I feel like it's been the craziest. Would you agree?
Absolutely. It continues to get bigger every single year, but I think the caliber of players that have moved around is been quite big. So, ready to dive into it. I mean, teams are all forever trying to chase the ultimate glory, mate, and they want to do it right now. It's been a big off season.
And just on that, you've been inside, you know, the teams when they've brought in a superstar. Do you find that they fit straight in, or is there a few adjustments, especially if they get a full training camp and whatnot?
It probably depends who it is, really. I mean, for us, when I was at Philadelphia, it was AJ Brown coming in, and he came in pretty seamlessly. So, obviously, Jalen and him basically grew up together, so they were best mates. So I think they just kind of had that sync in, and it worked very, very well. But I can't say that would be everywhere. There's certainly some things that you got to adjust to. You know, different quarterbacks and how they go about their business and things is obviously always going to be a bit different. But the sooner you can do it, there's definitely, opportunity for more success, that's for sure.
And if it's mid-season, not that that's got anything to do with this, but if it was mid-season, is that way more difficult because they've got to pick up the playbook?
Oh, no doubt. The playbook and that, being able to try and adjust to that very quickly is going to be interesting. Now, teams probably have similar things. It's just more about getting the terminology right for them. But certainly for mid-season and coming in and trying to do it is certainly quite an adjustment for sure.
It certainly is. Well, let's dive into free agency for everyone following. We're going to go alphabetical order and work through all the teams. We're not going to waste time on teams that haven't done much, but we'll give you an update on who has and who hasn't, and teams that we think are going to be powerhouses this year. So tune in right here. Let's start off with Arizona Cardinals. Sip. Talk to me. Do you like anything they've done on the offensive side?
I can't say too much, to be honest. Obviously, the only thing I'll say is getting obviously Kyler Murray back. I know he played the back end of last year, but getting him back obviously now, full kind of off season under his belt and can get it going, which would be super important for him. But I don't think they've really done a whole lot, to be honest. So DJ Dallas, their running back, who's going to compete with Connor, but I can't see that going to be too much of a change for him. I think Connor's their number one guy, and that's the way it is for me.
And I think with this, we're going to talk about the draft in another podcast, so we know that they spent some draft capital and they took the best wide receiver. Yeah. So, yes, they do have weapons, but we're talking free agency.
We'll save it.
So we'll save. We're going to deep dive on those kind of guys.
That's right.
But, in terms of free agency, it was a lot of movement on the defensive side and not much on the offense. So a bit disappointing there. They did get QB Desmond Ridder there from the Falcons, but we won't spend too much time on Desi. We'll go to Atlanta Falcons now, and this is worth chatting about. There's a fair bit that's happened at Atlanta. I'll start with the quarterback situation. They have paid Kirk Cousins a bomb. 4 years, $180 million, and he's coming off
one Achilles.
Yes, with one Achilles, hopefully two, and then going on in the draft and taking a QB at pick 8, I think it was. But let's start with Kirk. What's he going to do for Atlanta Falcons?
If he's healthy, I mean that's obviously such an important area for them. They've kind of struggled with the quarterback situation for the last few years. So if they can get right, that's going to be massive for him. So get him healthy. He's got the weapons there to be able to kind of make stuff happen for him on the offensive side of things. And that's going to be big because the NFC South is definitely up for grabs, I think, this year. And if he can stay healthy and get back out there, then they're definitely one to look out for sure.
Well said. I think the guy that I'm really excited about is Darnell Mooney. He's been at the Bears for a while, and I reckon he took a back seat to DJ Moore last year. But they've paid him, $39 million over 3 years. They're talking the Jordan Addison role right now because there is a lot of talent already there. We know Kyle Pitts is there, a guy that's really hurt me in the last year or two. Dion's been telling me, do not draft him, but I think he will get going. But anyway, Darnell Mooney, he's the guy that I'm really interested in watching. I think he had a lot of hype and hasn't lived up to it, but he's always, I don't know, I felt like Justin Fields would never really hit him when he was out, and he has shown a lot of signs. So they paid him a lot of money. I reckon he's got to be involved heavily. He's the guy that I think people might want to update themselves with.
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously a deep threat, as you said. He's got genuine speed, and he's going to be very, very dangerous. And he might work well, really, with the other guys that he got in there. As you said, there's obviously Pitts there. There's Drake London there too, who's a superstar. And then the other one, obviously, that they kind of got via a trade was Rondale Moore, and Moore's been at Arizona for the last few years and hasn't quite got going. Again, quarterback situation probably hurts him a little bit, but coming over to Orlando is another guy that's got genuine speed. There's some threats there on the offensive side, and we obviously know the running back that they've got in Robertson as well, and you could probably look at it and go, gee, that's a high-powered offense.
So Atlanta's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch. I think Kurt's still got it in him to be able to throw the deep ball too, so it brings Mooney into the game, and it's definitely one to look out for. So I think the Falcons can be a little bit of a smoky based on what they've been able to do during their off-season.
Yeah, I agree with you. They're one of the teams, while we're chatting about free agency, that have done really well.
No doubt. Yeah,
done really well. They probably cooked their QB scenario.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. That you bring it up, and as I said, we'll speak about that at a later date in terms of who they got. But it's definitely one to look at.
Met Bijan Robinson last year at the Super Bowl, and he was the nicest guy ever, and I've really warmed to him. And I think, he's got some – I've looked into some stuff that he's said, but he's got strong targets for himself, and I don't think they used him. They've obviously sacked the coach last year.
Right. New coach in too, so different offense.
I know we're talking free agency, but he's a guy I'm very excited about. Let's go to Baltimore Ravens and stay on the running back scenario. It doesn't get any bigger.
He loves his Ravens. Watch out.
I'll let you talk about the King Henry. Derrick Henry.
Yeah, King.
2 years, 16 mil.
Yeah.
The Gus Edwards we'll talk about later, who went to the Chargers, but he's gone. Derrick Henry working with Lamar Jackson. You talk to me about what you're going to expect there, because
I'll tell you,
that's pretty exciting stuff.
That's another pretty high-powered offense, and you got two guys to be scared with running the ball now. Watch out! So, he just adds firepower like that. That AFC North is big. They rely on just trenches type stuff and pound the ball, and getting Derrick is massive. And he's still in great shape. Like, people question his age and has he still got it in him and stuff, but he's put up numbers year after year after year, and there is no reason why he can't do it again. So the Ravens getting that as an addition is massive for him. I think it helps Lamar massively as well. And it's just another person for them to be scared about from a defensive side of the ball, and watch out. Yeah,
watch out. I think wide receivers, maybe a little bit light on, but they got the double tight end with Likely and Mark Andrews.
Absolutely.
And if you add them blocking or then a threat to pass, catch.
Dangerous.
And you got Derrick Henry there. You got Lamar Jackson. You honestly can't stop everything.
Oh, no. And another year of Flowers as well, in that system. And, we saw what he was able to do last year in his rookie year. So another year in that system. And, they're going to be right up there again. I mean, they were probably arguably the best team in it last year, really, and just couldn't quite get over the line when they needed to. But adding Henry, that might be the finishing touch for him.
Well said. Now we move on to Buffalo Bills. A really interesting
more about
one.
Who they lost than who they got, really.
Well, they lost Gabe Davis and Stephon Diggs, the two that I can think of off the top. But one player that they did get, and they paid $24 million over 3 years, was Curtis Samuel from Washington. What are your thoughts on that? I know they do like to use the slot a fair bit.
They do.
They drafted, which we're going to talk about later, a wide receiver with one of their first picks in the start of the second round. But I'm a bit confused with the Buffalo Bills. I don't like what I see. What are they going to do? Because it's a bit confusing at the moment.
I'm not sure. I'm not exactly sure on what the Bills are going to give us this year. I mean, not only we're obviously talking from an offensive point of view, but there's some guys on defense that they haven't got anymore either, and I just don't know how they're going to shape it up. It's going to look completely different. In terms of who's going to be out on the park for them, to be honest. And I know their quarterback, and he can come up with some special stuff, which Josh Allen does. But, Curtis Samuel being potentially your number one is an interesting one. So it's a lot different from seeing Stephon Diggs and Gabriel there. Just, it's just one to look out for again. I'm not really sure how that's going to go, particularly when they've been so dominant and competed so hard for the last few years, obviously pushing for that Super Bowl. I'm I just don't know which way it's going to go.
I agree. And like you look at their RB room, James Cook, there's not much else behind him. Then you got Keon Coleman, their wide receiver 1 here we're reading. And there's a bit of, you got MVS has being traded there as well. But Shakir's the wide receiver 2 and Curtis Samuel wide receiver 3. And then you got Chase Claypool there around the mark. The guys I love is their tight ends. There's Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid. Kincaid is probably their number 1 option for me.
Yeah, right.
But it's weird they don't have a balls out wide receiver 1 unless the Keon Coleman, who we'll talk about shortly, is the man. We'll find out. So interesting watch there. I'm not liking Buffalo Bills offense.
Interesting one for sure.
Carolina Panthers, I'll start off with their offensive coordinator who's come from Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He really helped Baker Mayfield. You'll see Baker's contract when we get to Tampa, but he looked like a different player, and their system was elite. He goes to Carolina, and he's going to try spark this offense. I think the main guy that's interesting for me is Deontay Johnson from the Steelers. He's been traded there. He's the guy that's been their biggest recruit, I reckon, in free agency. Would you agree?
Yeah, no doubt. That's definitely been their biggest one. They don't have a lot of weapons on offense, particularly last year, obviously relying on Thielen a lot. And, the rookie quarterback obviously is a year in the system with an O-line that's probably not the greatest, makes it a bit tough. But adding an extra wide receiver for him hopefully gives them a little bit more room for him to be able to move, another option. So, look, I think the Panthers are probably in for another long year, but certainly getting Johnson can help them, and another year in a system that, as you said, it's been quite successful over in Tampa, might be able to just make their life a little bit easier.
Yeah, and well said. I think Adam Thielen's the other guy that's there, but Deontay Johnson is clearly the one. I just hope that they can get going for Bryce Young's sake, because there's a lot of. I saw a little photo, a video of him, and they're like, "Has he gotten smaller?" And
it's tough, isn't it?
People are just brutal. So he's clearly a star.
And the other one too, probably is their running back situation too. Like obviously they spent a bit of coin the year prior on Miles Sanders. Obviously he had a good year in Philadelphia 2 years ago, and injuries, and didn't quite blossom in that offense either. So,
well, you played with him. What do you expect? Like, what kind of running back was he?
I mean, again, it's probably a little bit to do with the O-line in the end as well.
Just not protective enough time.
I mean, Philadelphia's O-line's been very good for a few years, and when you can run behind them, you're going to be pretty good. And, obviously having to make those adjustments and things like that can be tough. But, I still think Miles is a good back to be able to produce no matter where he is. And obviously him trying to be healthy and stay healthy and be out on the park is going to be crucial for him. So that's another one to be able to look out for as well.
Yeah, well said. Well, look, let's get really excited about this. I think I've highlighted 3. I think these are one of them.
And they're big.
Chicago Bears. All you Bears fans, I know we've got a few, but this is big. There's a lot of movement here.
Whoever's jumping on, do it right now, because this is big.
It is big. Let's start. DeAndre Swift, 3-year, $24 million contract. It's a lot for a running back. Yep. Tight end Gerald Everett, 2 years, $12 million. Then we go to Keenan Allen from the Chargers, one of the most consistent, high-performing wide receivers we've seen.
Yep.
He got paid as well. And they obviously had pick 1 and I think pick 9 where they took a QB and a wide receiver, which is going to be in our next podcast. But let's talk about free agency, which is Swift, Everett, and Allen linking up with what they've already got, DJ Moore. I mean, they are seriously good, and they are good on defense. Not that we're talking defense too much, but I really like their defense at the end of the year. You add all this offense, it's really going to come down to the quarterback for me. Can he play? Because when I say can he play in year 1, and can he do it at a high level?
Yeah.
Keenan Allen and DJ Moore scenario. Which player do you think gets more targets, gets more points in fantasy?
It's tough. I think that is going to be a tough one. I mean, in terms of the fantasy side of things, but just you got to go with Keenan, don't you? The production that he's had for a few years now. I mean, what a year that he had last year. Like, just incredible. And I know he's going to be dealing with a rookie quarterback, which we'll speak about later on, but I think he's going to be able to help that situation out a lot more. And when you've got some weapons, I think the quarterback could make it a bit easier. But the Bears over the last few years have definitely gone hard on defense. They've done that for a reason, and now they've tried to open up on the offense. And getting Keenan Allen is going to be massive. He's pretty darn good. So
he's very good.
I'm excited to see that. And obviously DeAndre Swift had a great year in Philly last year, and gets a 3-year deal, 24 mil, deservedly so, all pro, Pro Bowl. So another really solid year for him to be able to come across. And they add that to, what an O-line that's certainly building and getting better at. I think they can give the Detroit Lions a bit of a shake in the North.
It's going to be very interesting.
All of a sudden, the NFC North is got a bit busier. So, watch out. This is exciting. The Bears are obviously now in a situation where they're wanting to really go out there and make a name for themselves. And I think they're just starting to get the pieces together right now.
And it's not like they've got no backups. Like they've got, their running back room, Swift, Herbert, Johnson. You can pound the rock, you can catch
Absolutely.
it. You go to their wide receiver room as well.
Yeah.
You got Dante Pettis, who can take a catch. But it's the tight end room with Cole Kmet. We're also forgetting with Everett, who can block and catch.
So true.
It's stacked.
Yeah.
It honestly is stacked. And if you're a Bears fan and you like to have a bet and you're not even a fan, I'm going to be having a lot. I think when they're, especially when they're not favored to win, I reckon they're going to do a lot of upsetting this year if they're not already going to be favorites. But look, Chicago Bears, they are all green and all systems go this year. It's going to be interesting to see.
I agree.
Let's move on to Cincinnati Bengals. Bengals or Bengals? How do you say it?
Yeah, I call them the Bengals.
Yeah.
Get the Bengals going. Yeah.
We have a bit of movement here. I'll go through a few. Mike Gesicki on a 1-year deal from the Dolphins, $3 million. Zach Moss, the running back, 2 years, $8 million. And then we have Drew Sample, another tight end, 3 years, $10 million. Now, the reason I'm bringing these guys up, they're clearly getting a little bit more protection. They've lost Mixon, which is a real important player. But, they've signed T. Higgins to a 1-year deal, which they didn't get the big deal done, but $21.8 million for 1 year.
So just accepted his 5th year kind of option as part of his rookie contract. So that's definitely one to keep an eye out for sure.
Outside of that, it's pretty stock standard stuff, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. It's just that running back room, it's going to be interesting to see with Mixon gone.
Losing Mixon's obviously pretty big for him, so the running back room probably is a little bit light. I know Zach Moss can definitely hold his own as the one, but obviously hasn't proven probably 100% everything yet. He's been more of that kind of 1/2 back in at the Colts, so that's one to definitely keep an eye out for and see how that goes. But Joe's Joe, of course, and they've still got Jamar Chase and that. It's just more about who are the other weapons that they can kind of get around and make something happen for this year.
Yeah, I agree. I'm really interested to see what they do in the running back room.
Yeah,
it's not
I am
stacked.
too.
They do have Brown there that was pretty impressive.
A few free agents potentially out there still that they could try and get, but I guess it's probably just a little bit of a wait and see for them.
Yeah. We'll move, and obviously Smoking Joe with the blonde hair.
Smoking Joe now looking like Slim Shady, so watch out.
Slim. Cleveland Browns. There's probably one player that I'm really interested to talk about, and that would be Jerry Jeudy, who's been paid very nicely, and he's been traded via the Broncos. But Jerry Judy's a guy that I've really liked personally, but hasn't lived up to it. But he's also been in an average system at Denver. They've had nothing really, no consistency. They've had different coaches, different offensive coordinators, and their QB room hasn't been great for a long time. He goes to Cleveland, Deshaun Watson. He gets another preseason. I mean, this is a big year for him because they've paid him a stack of cash, and I expect him to lift. But Jerry Jeudy and Amari Cooper, who's already there, they're the two that really excite me.
Yeah, massive as well. The Browns are in a situation where they kind of need to make something happen this year, I feel like. I mean, they've gone hard for the last few years, obviously getting Watson to start off with because they're in a situation where they probably need to start winning. And they had a very, very good season last year. Obviously they were pretty strong on defense and that, and obviously the division that they're in is obviously quite strong. So they need to kind of start putting it together. But having Jerry Jeudy is obviously going to be massive for him, and hopefully in a system that's kind of been well established now, he can kind of just go in there pretty easily and make a name for himself now. Because as you said, you're totally right. Being in Denver for the last few years and probably had a different coach almost every single year that he's been there. So, and that makes it quite tough. So hopefully that turns it around for him. Obviously working with Amari Cooper is massive. And if Nick Chubb can get back out on the park, he's essentially a free agent for him, considering he missed most of last year. And if he can get back out there and get back to what we know he is, there's definitely a chance that the Browns can be shaking it up this year for sure in the AFC.
And a stacked offense,
Massive,
Watson at quarterback.
Tight ends as well, obviously, is pretty good.
Njoku's a star.
Njoku's very, very good.
Elijah Moore was probably the other wide receiver that they've got that we haven't spoken about.
That's
so
right.
Jerry Jeudy's he's not going to get a lot of attention because of Amari Cooper, where he might have got a bit more because there wasn't much going on. So I'm excited to see this offense click. Nick Chubb, though, massive.
If we can get him healthy, it's a massive one to keep an eye out for sure, because we all know when he gets going, he is a superstar.
And there's Ford just sitting there. Well, we move on to the Dallas Cowboys, and this is the lightest I've seen. They've done nothing.
They haven't done much. They really haven't done much, and obviously there's a bit of turmoil right there right now with obviously CD Lamb not rocking up to training camp right now.
He wants the money.
He wants the money, and you know what? He probably deserves it. He's probably the top 3 in the league from the wide receivers, if not the competition. So, that's an interesting one. They've lost a lot of guys as well. Dak's obviously trying to get paid too, so couldn't happen to a better team. So we'll move on.
I know you don't like them, but we can't skip over Zeke. Ezekiel Elliott's back. They got rid of him, and now they've welcomed him back.
That's where they're at. That's where they're at, boys.
I mean, what is going on?
Ladies and gentlemen, that is where they're at.
I think Rico Dowdle, who I think might be there might be their RB1. He's on $1.2 million. They're paid him absolute peanuts.
That's right. They got Brennan Cooks in there, and Kevontae Turpin is obviously one who's been more of a returner that might get a bit more use this year. Who knows? But it's an interesting one to look at because they're definitely a team that's been trying to be winning it for a long time now, and all of a sudden they've just lost some key guys that they probably have been their core players for the last 2 or 3 years. So I'm not sure on the Dallas Cowboys. We know what Dak can do, but we also know what he can do from a Paul point of view as well. So it's, one to definitely, again, to kind of keep an eye out for sure.
Jake Ferguson at tight end is a nice option, but it's honestly CD Lamb and Ferguson and there's not a lot going on. They did throw the ball a lot last year. Yep. So for fantasy, that could be good if he is playing in tight games and behind.
For sure.
And plays in the stadium at home every week.
No doubt.
But real ugly free agency.
Interesting one.
Yeah, especially where they think they might be winning.
Yeah.
I'm very keen to get to your old team in a second, but that's a little bit longer down. Let's go to Denver Broncos. Yeah. Not a lot going on either. I've got Adam Troutman, a tight end, 2 years, 7.5. More of a blocking tight end and can take a catch, but nothing exciting for me. Obviously, they got Bo Nix, I think it is, at QB in the draft.
That's right, yeah.
But nothing from free agency that's worth
the only one that you could probably add is obviously they did trade for Zach Wilson, from the Jets and that, and he's an interesting one to obviously look at. We're not too sure how that's going to pan out, and
the MILF hunter.
Yeah,
I think he got engaged.
He did get engaged. I don't know how old she is or anything like that. She could be 42.
She could be actually.
He's done well. He's doing well for himself, and he's a good-looking kid. So credit to him, but he hasn't been able to show some good football over the last couple of years, and I know they kind of been riding him a little bit, but it's an interesting one to see there. And obviously, as you mentioned, they also drafted a quarterback, so bit of a watch this space. But again, very, 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 very light on the old Broncos, and obviously not having Russell Wilson there anymore is going to be very interesting. So I'm probably not expecting too much from the Broncos this year.
When I think Broncos, I don't think fantasy. I can't tell you anyone.
There's not much there. There's not much there. Your best option is Cortland Sutton, and he's going to have a tough time, I reckon.
It's the quarterback play that's going to hurt him. If he was at another team, it'd be different.
Agree.
Let's skip to Detroit Lions. Yeah. Not a lot happening here. They've really pressed reset. It was an amazing season. They made the NFC Championship game, and they lost because they didn't play well in the second half, really.
Yep.
Amon Ra got paid a lot of money, so he's signed a big contract. But, I mean, in terms of free agency, we won't talk too much about their team because we've got a lot of podcasts to talk about what we think, but there's nothing that's really happened. So they're saying, we're happy with what we did last year, and let's go again, really.
No, I think they've just got the players that they want already, and they've just added a bit of depth around where they needed to, and that's all there is to it for me. I think they're very, very strong. They're well set up. Their running back room strong. Jared Goff had a great year. You've got St. Brown and Jameis Williams that will kind of get going. That's from the kid from Alabama that I reckon will start to flourish a little bit more. And I think they're just ready to go again to have another crack at it.
I agree. And how can you not love them?
They're a team you just want to be able to support the whole way. They've been through some tough times. They haven't won one yet, and very close last year, and let's hope they, get it going and win one more.
I must say, defensively though, they have made a little bit of movement, but so it's going to be interesting to see. And obviously, Hutchison will be getting better and better.
And their defense was strong last year too. So hopefully, as you said, with a couple of players they've added, they're really ready to roll.
Green Bay Packers. They have a lot of young players, but they have signed the running back Josh Jacobs to a 4-year, $48 million contract. Now, running backs don't get paid a lot of money. We'll talk about Saquon Barkley's contract in a second. He has been paid a stack, and he's going to leave a hole at the Raiders. But in terms of the Packers, AJ Dillon's re-signed as well, the big quads.
Yep, massive.
They were really impressive last year. There's people already out there going, we think they could potentially go all the way. I disagree with that. But Jordan Love wants a new contract. They've got all the weapons. They drafted really well. They've got some young receivers, and now they've added Josh Jacobs to the mix.
Yeah, they've got a good young group, and having them now an established running back could be massive for them. And not that Aaron Jones wasn't established, but probably just couldn't stay out on the park regularly just with injuries and that going on for him. But getting Josh Jacobs is going to be massive for him, and establish that run is going to be pretty key. But they're a good young team on the up. Did they surprise a few people? I reckon no doubt that they did. I don't think many people, kind of expected them to make the playoffs and then win one if they did make it. So credit to them. And Green Bay's a hard place to play from about November onwards, so there's a significant advantage for them there when they get that going, and there's no reason why they can't, shake it up again. Obviously, they're going to be dealing with the Bears and dealing with Detroit, so obviously that's going to be tough. But I think they've just got a good young group and still a young coach that's obviously very, very smart with what he does, and something to look out for. So they've obviously picked up a couple of players on defense as well, and put some coin around there for them too, which helps them definitely in that area. And I think it's one to look out for. The Packers.
They're an interesting one. The Packers.
They are. You don't want to not get behind them, but it will be an interesting one because obviously the NFC, as I said, the NFC North is going to be quite strong this year.
And Jaden Reed, wide receiver one, Christian Watson, who's had hamstring issues. Hopefully he's fit. That's right. Romeo Dobbs. You got a lot of young
and
talent.
Luke Musgrove's a young tight end as well that really came along towards the end of the season last year that. Jordan Love got onto and really tried to build a connection with, and it certainly helped him in the back end.